All right, game number 1 for the ASL Prime League Season 6 European Qualifiers. I'm Rifkin, Castle Zombie Grub, and of course, if you guys haven't already seen and heard, ASL's coming back from Ding It, baby. Woo! Coming back to Twitch, the promised land! And, of course, we're casting their qualifiers to help spread the word, and hopefully people will know about this so that they can watch the main season. Where, again, you're going to have people like Tempo, and I think, Draenok, and... gosh, I can't actually think of anyone else off the top of my head, but there's a lot of other casters who you've seen at least around here on BaseTradeTV once or twice. They'll be covering the main event on the ASL channel, so good people is basically what I'm trying to recommend here. But getting into Invader, spawning here in the bottom right side, playing for Team Dignitas. I think he's going to be like the only player still playing for Team Dignitas. It's going to be the Blue Zerg Tefel.
Probably. In the bottom left, as the red Protoss, it is Welmu.
And we got a resub, Regordance. This guy has been around with us for 8 months. He's actually been around longer than that. I think he just let a sub drop off at some point, but thank you for coming back. Love him because he's always tweeting stuff on the Twitters, usually in Spanish, and I can't read it, but still, it's nice to see that that interaction.
Wow. You follow like everyone, so it doesn't surprise me.
You make that really sound not so great. You know that? Like,
how does it not sound so great? Like, what am I calling it, like a Twitter whore and like slut-shaming you?
No, I was going around the more direction like stalker mode or something. Like, yeah, you just follow everyone. Like, get it.
Okay, yeah, you just follow everyone, you creep.
Yeah, see,
so creepy. Okay, the thing is though, is that like
you were going with it.
I feel like it's creepier for me who follows on like 50 people, you know, because then I'm right there on their tweets, you know. But like with 500 plus people, like you're gonna skip a couple of their tweets. That's not true stalking. That's your defense, if anyone should ask you.
Okay, thank you. Will you be my lawyer in a court of law?
Yes, I will.
Yes,
I will present you
a million times, yes.
Fairly, and with smartness.
Smartness, all right. I'm already regretting this decision. Now, Welmu, we haven't actually seen a lot of in recent days, unfortunately. He didn't really compete in too much of our qualifier stuff, and he hasn't been showing up for weekly cups. That's not to say he's fallen off the scale of things, though, because Welmu has always been and still is a very, very good Protoss player. But he has fallen prey to, I think, with... I can't think of a better way to phrase it, but just like the Protoss underdog syndrome, I guess. Right now, even some of the best Protoss players really are struggling. It kind of sucks, though, because you look at people like Patience and Neeb, who were at best like B-teamer leaguers, like nobody really thought much of them in the past, but now they are like actually some of the best players in the game, yet they're doing it with a race that nobody else can win with. So it really does hurt, I think, the state of Protoss to have two really good people represent you, but then have everyone else fail miserably at doing things. And it reminds me heavily of the beginning of Legacy of the Void beta, where you had no Terrans who could do anything, could not even touch Ultralisk, for example, and then Beyond starts killing Zerg all over the place. You have one or two good players making the race look good, whereas the majority can't do anything with it.
I feel like it's going to be the average, the usual for a new game. That's what I was trying to look for. Like, it would happen in Heart of the Swarm. The Zergs would have like a really tough time in the beginning, but then a couple would start to really shine and rise through the ranks. Like Dong or Goose started having like really good games. There's Innovation who seemed like you couldn't be beaten in that matchup, and it doesn't surprise me that it happened in Legacy of the Void, but it has been happening for a very long time. Protoss has been in a constant state of flux and is still, to this day, highly contended on whether or not they're super underpowered or stupidly like overpowered, especially when they get to those immortals in this matchup. Although I don't think anyone's really going to try and contest that they're like super overpowered. Not exactly winning everything, but you get what I mean. So
I want
Invader.
No, hang on. This is more important to me.
No. Okay.
Some guy called me a serial offender. I look like a serial offender in chat, but he spelt it like breakfast cereal, you know? So, I'm like, is that a fat joke? What are you trying to say, man? Like,
do you offend cereal, or
like,
with the help of cereal, do you offend people?
Or does cereal get offended by me? Like, there's a lot of questions to be asked about the way this was made. Like, are you for cereal right now, man? Like,
someone earlier, and I can actually understand this one a lot more than the cereal one, to be honest.
Oh, nice.
Although both are not great, but the segue.
I love Segway sandwiches. They're the best.
Yeah, I should have.
This is actually a really nice cancel. Tefel really thought he had this under wraps. Now, Tefel is not getting devastated by this, but this is the type of adept control I really like watching, and not just going AFK. Most importantly, he actually, rather than just leave the adepts to auto-attack, was hold positioning behind the mineral lines, which is kind of an important detail when you're using these units, rather than just chasing forward into death. But no anti-air here. Oh, no.
No, not really. This is actually really good harassment. So the adepts, you know, ideally they get like 15 or 20. I mean, that would be a great adept attack. But to get 7 and then get some of them out, damage a couple of queens, the phoenixes continue to do damage. Like, this is really starting to add up, not just purely in drones, which 10 is really not that much, but just in, like, you know, indirect damage, messing up Tefel's macro, killing his queens who get larva inject, you know, holding off a big push. I did want to talk about the map a little bit, to the fact that it's horizontal spawns opposed to vertical. There's no cross in this map, but we actually have an attack on the way, so...
He should be okay, though. There's an abnormally large amount of zealots combined with 2 photon overcharges and a small choke. The only place here Tefel might be in a bit of danger if the rocks were getting broken down. The roaches can certainly do that.
Yeah, it's odd how infrequently people remember that those are rocks being broken down. But I guess the argument is that, like, if you do break them down, like, what are you really going to do? It's a very dangerous choke.
Yeah, like, to what avail? The attack does commence. It's getting a little bit awkward. The Mothership Core is just going to shoot out here. Phoenix could have gone home and picked off a lot of these roaches, but instead have insisted on staying on the side of the field. So forced out a lot of spore crawlers out of Tefel. There's actually no anti-air aside from 1 queen to the 3rd, so if Welmu wanted to head that direction, it could get kind of nasty. Making Overlord kills isn't bad either, because it will, of course, supply block your opponent. Where are the majority of the Overlords, actually? There's so few out in play. I guess they're all conglomerating over the base with no anti-air, ironically enough.
This should be safe, guys.
This is an insane amount of Phoenix. So, like, I mean, the double Stargate's not so crazy to see, but to see Welmu dedicate this much to it this early is certainly alarming. Now, I had mentioned earlier we saw that cool bug, him versus TLO on the ladder. Shaboom in chat dropping us some info saying that apparently Welmu is number 2 on the ladder right now for GM, which is impressive for certain. But I was going to say, we saw a lot of Phoenix play out of him over there, and I thought that maybe that's a once-off thing, but he is actually playing a lot of Phoenix, and I guess this might just be his PvZ. Also got to give a shout out to Wicked Metal for the 3-month resub. Love this guy's attitude. Comes to chat and says, clap for me, you monkeys.
Yeah. He knows what's up. So the Phoenix count, as you said, like it's a quite a surprising amount. It is double Stargate though, and it's usually like they could go up to a high amount, but a lot of times even with double Stargate, they do stop at below 8, I would say, and it's up to 13 now. He's finally transferring out, though. Like, getting those robos, getting upgrades, probably going to get Twilight Council. In fact, there it goes now. And, you know, more standard-looking Protoss than Mass Phoenix. But these Phoenix have done a lot of work. I think they were definitely worth it. And as long as they don't fly over Hydralisk, they're going to be useful later on. Like, 13 Phoenixes could pick up all of Tefel's Hydralisk right now.
Yeah, he's got an event out of hand with him. Now, the thing about the Hydras, too, they die very quickly, so it's not even like the Phoenixes will be too far out of commission. He's killed a lot of drones with this, by the way, up to 36 in total. Not bad. Behind this, Welmu manages to actually establish a 3rd base, which is kind of interesting to see. His robo production is, like, in the middle of nowhere.
Oh.
It looks very weird, but I guess it would be the heart of if he takes a 4th over here, like his bases. I mean, well, it's exposed. Like, let's be honest. If Tefel were attacking, this would be the highest priority target on the front lines.
Yeah. So we see the robos put up like in front of the 3rds all the time, and even that looks a little bit questionable. But in like the middle of nowhere is obviously very funny looking. I just kind of wish it was like maybe up against a wall, so Lynx rounds later on would be able to kill it really quickly. Your army would be in front of it, and the pylons would be in front as opposed to behind. I don't know, but
there's 2 very important trains of thought that go with this. The one is there's really not a lot of building space on Invaders, so as you can see, there's places he could have put them, but obviously not comfortably. But secondly, I guess you could make the argument, like, if this area was compromised beyond repair anyways, the game might have been over. But what I don't like behind this is Welmu's actually not perhaps ready for Tefel's attack. There's going to be Banelings with this, so charge lots might not even be an issue.
Yeah, I do like the Banelings. They don't have speed, but the thing is that, especially if the Zealots had charge, like, they would need speed to help them get to the Zealots anyway. Yeah, exactly. So this is actually a really cool thing. It's been coming back. We saw it like every once in a while, but it feels like just in the past week, Banelings have been really, really popular. Not picking up all the Hydras is using the Phoenix is not so much for crowd control, but actually killing units, and the force fields helped out with that too. Kept a lot of the Banelings off the back of the Zealots. Up by Mothership 4.
she does. More force field warp-ins, or sentry warp-ins I thought were going to be the priority here, but it actually just goes for adepts instead. I mean, sentries and force fields are what make this look laughable. Even without the banelings, I'm just talking strictly in regards to roaches and hydras. Since there's no ravagers, there's no lurkers. It is very basic tier units. Other side of the map, huge adept run by transfer in, however you want to call it. Looks like Welmu will hold it home at the cost of most of his phoenixes, but it's going to win him the game. So GG.
Well, you know, Welmu had a really nice early game harassment, and the hold might have been a lot more difficult if it wasn't for all that. You know, if Tefel had not taken 20 plus drone losses. I could see that actually just simply steamrolling him.
Well, second map is going to be Ruins of Endion, of course, not Ceres. I'm really bummed because, you know what, I was actually really proud of the Ruins of Ceres intro. I thought I gave it, like, I found a good song with proper beat. I thought it was pretty sick. And then, like, nope, it's gone.
JK. I just don't like that they had to use another name with Ruins of. So besides being unoriginal, it also was just...
Yeah, like, why not call it Endion Ruins?
That doesn't make any sense. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, Rifkin.
Rifkin, you just need to shut your dumb mouth, okay? You... If only you were prettier, you wouldn't have to talk so much.
You're so pretty, you don't have to go to college.
Oh, man. Okay, so just got to get Welmu here in the game with us. It's a nice 1-0 lead, but it's hardly over. I just want to point out, like, Tefel... That sucked, but that's also not a situation you see a lot of Zerg players in, where you've been abused by Phoenix so heavily. I think if Tefel had realized that it was going to be so dedicated and so many Phoenix, we would have seen, like, Ling Hydra en masse, not so much Roaches, and this weird halfway investment. Like, I think a lot of the game was realizing the true danger too late.
I agree.
But let's hop into the intros for Ruins of Endion. See you guys in a sec. Alright, game number... Wait, this is a favorite transition thing on Exploit? I had no idea. Okay, I'm going to look into that later. Spawning into game number 2. Here in the bottom right side of Ruins of Endion, we got the teal Zerg players. None other than Dignitas' Tefel.
In the bottom left, as the red Protoss, it is Welmu.
Now, this kind of goes back to... I want to see Welmu do well today. Every matchup he's going to be fighting from here on out, if he wins the series, will be Zerg. More and more Zerg. Be a laser, it'll be Snoot, it'll be Guru, I mean, I don't know, you name it, but it's going to be a Zerg player. Right through to his qualifying match. So, if that first game was any indication of Welmu having a grasp on this matchup, then I'm feeling pretty damn good for Welmu for the qualifiers.
Yeah, you know, it's like if that game happens again, then Welmu's probably going to win, yeah. But I think the important factor, besides the Phoenix, was the Adept harassment, which, again, did not start off with a lot of drone kills, like a modest amount, but led to the confusion and a little bit of a snowball that, you know, led to the Phoenixes being so powerful. So one of the things you can do on Ruins, obviously, and what really makes this map, like, its thing, basically, is the rocks being broken down gives you, like, very, very safe access to a third base, and adept run-bys will not be a problem.
Yeah, actually, so this has been coming more through Reddit. I haven't actually seen any of this yet, but we've been hearing lots of things about how early pools are actually way better for knocking down the rocks and letting you play super greedy behind it than necessarily going for those old all-ins. But, question for you really quick on the topic of those adepts, because I agree 100%. For me, when I'm watching these games... You know, now that I'm smarter and better at StarCraft or whatever, it's a lot more easy for me to identify, like, what's a good move and what's a bad move versus, like, what was luck and what's not. But what? You're
better since, like, compared to what? Like, years ago, or because you're, like, rank 1 now?
Oh, no, I mean, like, since we started casting and things like that.
Oh, okay. It just sounded kind of, because I know we were really discussing the rank 1 earlier, and you're like, now that I'm rank 1, I'm much more knowledgeable.
Okay, so that's my bad, I guess, on that description. But the point of it is, like, but at a glance, I think when I look at it, you watch Terran do something, there's a lot more involved, so it's easy to say, like, oh, that drop was sick, look at the stutter step, look at the micro, look at the pickup and the drop and this and that and the other, right? Whereas for Protoss, things like Adepts, maybe it's not so obvious that, like, Welmu's doing hold position and that Welmu's canceling these Adepts versus just kind of moving them around. And I know there's a stigma against Protoss, but I think that part of it just might be it's harder to identify when they do good things. I'm just wondering what your take on that is.
What do you mean my take?
Like, what are your thoughts? Like, I mean, I described mine.
Well, you described like Welmu and his good micro.
No, but what I'm like in general for Pro, like whether it's choosing to go a double Stargate instead of one Stargate, like the imperativeness of that move isn't nearly as obvious as Terran throwing down like 5 extra factories. You know what I mean?
I'm confused. I'm sorry. So you're saying like
I'm just basically saying it's hard to identify with races like Protoss the important moves because they're not very obvious.
Okay, that's okay.
Thank you for
I
making
totally
this incredibly
get that.
uncomfortable and
sorry.
frustrating for me.
I'm sorry because I have actually like I know that we've talked about this before, so I felt like that's where you were going, but I wasn't quite sure. Anyway, but yes, like the Protoss has always been the race I feel that has had the most shit thrown at them because well they were cheesy or they were super turtly, and now Legacy of the Void they're I think much better, but they're still like that race that it's you know the gas timings I think were the biggest like evidence of that, right? Like the fact that the pros went for 3 gases as opposed to 4 was super important. Like not really much so for Zerg or Terran.
Right, and doing the 2 and 2 workers instead of the 3 and 3, like little things like that were always really hard to point out and be like, look, this is such a big deal, but it kind of actually is.
Yes. Okay. To be fair, it's like the first time we haven't just like connected, okay? Like I'm just like, no, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it doesn't happen that often.
We're drifting apart, Zombie Grub.
I'm sorry.
Nothing lasts forever. No, but I mean that's for me when I look at the game now with Legacy of the Void, and I'm specifically referring to the last game with the Adept Harass, because it was a really big aspect of it. The big flashy part of the game was the Phoenix, but the most important part of the game, in my opinion, was the Adept Harass. And that's kind of where I'm coming down, where I think whether it's new players playing the game, whether it's pros currently playing the game, like it's really hard to actually see the important stuff sometimes. But I know it's good to see Welmu's got these things down pat. Now, he has gone for Phoenix once again, but it's actually a double robo much quicker. And more importantly, upgrades to go with it. We've actually seen a lot of double robo play that prioritizes just getting like a ton of immortals, but without any upgrades. And that's usually kind of alright, and really relies more on the Zerg player kind of being whatever. But I feel with these upgrades, especially when you're fighting against units you don't have bonus damage against, like Hydras, are just more important than they normally would be.
I mean, you know, the same thing could have happened. The rocks are broken down for Tefel's side. Welmu actually broke down his, where he could have gone for the Adept attack and the double Stargate Phoenix. Certainly on a map where it's close by air too. Air would not have been the worst decision in the world. But Welmu did change it up, like without any say from the Zerg. He's the one that broke down his rocks. He's the one that went faster into what is the standard composition for Protoss, and is, I mean, I think he's actually like wanting to get to that stage where Zergs actually think that Protoss is a little, you know, stupid. Like you get those Immortals, you get the charge lots, you get the Archons, and suddenly they feel like they can't do very much except go for a Greater Spire.
So, gotta give a very big thank you to Terminator 101, who just donated $35, by the way.
Ooh.
And it says, save that magnificent stash. Also, I want to say hi to Sregor Marg. Oh, it's my name backwards. Why are people doing this? This is like, everyone keeps trying to get me to say my name backwards or something lately. This is like the 5th donation that my name's just been spelled backwards, and I don't understand this like meme. Like, what is going on? The vampire thing, as much as I hate it and don't understand it, I at least get it, right? What does the backwards name thing have to do with anything? Is there some like thing where like if a vampire reads their name backwards, they'll like become a human again? Like I don't like whatever.
That's what I was gonna ask. Cause this,
for as awesome and generous as our community is, sometimes it can be really fucking stupid.
I don't know, man.
Anyways, Terminator 101, love you much, man. Thank you so much. We do have the attack coming across the map though, and while Welmu was doing a little bit of harass back at home, the army supply has certainly grown for Tefel. It is 90 army supply over 56 for Welmu. But Welmu's got +1 weapons, he's got a decent amount of sentries, and of course 4 Immortals are no joke when it comes to damage. The problem is though, this Protoss army, as strong as it is not one that can split. He's not going to be able to attend 2 different fights at the same time.
Yeah, that is the big problem. But there's a lot of pylons to help out against, mostly roaches, so they'd be able to take a hit, but they decide to back off. There are options for Tefel here, but I don't think he wants to go with only half of his army either way, too. Because if he loses half the army and then very quickly the other half, he could be in a lot of trouble. So just posturing. He has a lurker done on the way, so this could all just be fake pressure anyways. He really wants to wait for the lurkers, but wants to, not let Welmu get away with a lot of macro. But unfortunately, it's already happened. Welmu got away with a pretty quick 3rd base and 63 probes. So You're just catching him while he's trying to build up a very big army, and Welmu's army is already pretty good. Charge's up, Immortals are up. I don't know if Tefel should really be taking this fight.
It's not so much that he shouldn't have taken this fight. He should have taken this fight at one location, is what I think. I am confused about the choice to do. Because he knocked down these rocks. Like, he opened a second pathway to get half the Hydras or a couple Lings to run by or something. Even just a small amount of roaches going towards the natural base would have killed probes while this was going on. But instead he got absolutely demolished up here. He got a couple pylons. I mean, what did Welmu even lose? Just sentries, adepts, and zealots. Like, not even a single immortal went down through that.
And the sentries at this point aren't so important. Well, yeah, that was very questionable. I agree. Like, there should have been, 5 roaches off to the left and the army off to the right, or vice versa, or Lings going through the main or natural. But now lurkers are out, so it's going to be a little bit more of a solidified position. Like, this attack makes a little bit more sense. But even so, the immortal count, as you said, it didn't go down. It's still rising, actually. 8 immortals soon. Most of the probes have to be pulled or killed, so the third is going to go down. Welmu does not want to take this fight, which is always a little surprising.
Detection.
I guess that was the problem.
I mean, there are observers out, but it's the concern, do they get picked off? I guess they don't, so realizing this is the case, takes advantage of the situation, advances forward. It is, as you pointed out, the cost of the third, however, so not exactly a great cleanup, but he does, once again, just demolish Tefel's army supply. Yeah. And the worst thing is the Immortals all live, so Barrier comes off cooldown in about 30 or 40 seconds for most of them. Some of them already have it off cooldown, so they're ready to go for round 2.
There's not a lot of fodder for them, so that's a little scary. Like, if this was a mass Ling Hydra army, I'd actually be kind of scared for Welmu. But the problem is that it's not really an army at all. It's there's not a big remax for Tefel here, and even though it's Hydras, which would do fine, it's only like 7 Hydras, which will not do fine. +2 is about to finish up. Roaches are on the way to provide some buffer, but that's where the Immortals really do look very powerful. They're going to rip through those roaches, no problem. I don't know if this is going to be a game quite yet, but no, it probably is. Tefel doesn't have a 4th base. If he loses his 3rd, that's game. Yeah.
So GG gets called. I think, for me, when I look at this, this particular attack here may have already been too far gone and the game was over. But the first thing I noticed is, like, he was still making roaches against a lot of Immortals. I think at that point, you just got to drop it and go for Lings for your fodder, for the Hydras to live behind it. Like, to go into roaches is just not going to go well, but congratulations to Welmu. He'll advance on to fight against a Laser next, so we'll follow this bracket to have that PvZ coming up. I'll leave it to you to poke the players and all that good stuff. I actually have to add the $35 to save it, so it's going to be to 41. Save it and shave it, man. Terrible. Gonna go to a small commercial break, guys. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Welmu versus the Zerg race when we return.